Hi, everyone. This is Rob Roy, and welcome to the Hub Financial Crypto Show, where we talk about all things crypto with Mr. Brandon Burton. And we'll bring Brandon on in just a moment, but let's take a quick look at the markets and see how the equities markets are doing right in front of the election. So we're finally here, day away. And as you can see from the charts, we're hanging around that 50-day moving average. If I expand the charts out a bit, we have broken out of that ending diagonal pattern, which we had talked about was a likelihood. But we're holding the 50-day moving average so far. So what that means is it's leaving the opportunity for a bit of an upward rally on the post-election, just getting the uncertainty out of the way. No matter who wins, there could be a relief rally. We'll have to see how that plays out. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of a blip up first before we broke to the downside here. Then I'd feel like we'd be more in a solid corrective mode. So the fact that we broke out early and are holding the 50-day moving average, it kind of gives us an opportunity to go either way. If we break below the 50-day moving average with follow through, we'll probably at least see 550 and then possibly down to 530. But if we get that post-election bounce first, and I think that's going to have a little bit to do with who wins, but more in just getting the uncertainty out of the way, then we'll determine when the correction may come and how far it will likely go. I do feel like once we get past the election, even if we have a bit of an upward move immediately following it, there'll be a little bit of a sell the news afterwards. The market needs a little bit of a correction. And I just feel like that's the likely outcome. But we'll see how things play out. All right, let's talk about how the election may affect the crypto world. No one better to talk to than Brandon Burton. How you doing, Brandon?
Rob, and I know we talked about the election last week just a little bit, but we have to hit it again today because it's so important.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, tomorrow, right, Rob? You're gonna get out
Yep.
there and vote for your favorite candidate, whoever that might be.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I will vote for
Perfect.
sure. And then I will be up all night long with you watching your live stream.
I know. I think we're gonna go live tomorrow. We're gonna be chit chatting about it. Probably something useless for sure, but we'll talk about it. We'll see what's happening, obviously, in the crypto world. But before we get to that, I did want to get your opinion on what MicroStrategy is doing. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Michael Saylor came out in their quarterly. This is their quarter 3 earnings report, and he came out with his plan to buy $42 billion worth of Bitcoin over the next few years. Now, the way that he's planned on doing this is what they did is the 21-21 plan as an ode to Bitcoin. They're going to issue $21 billion worth of new shares, essentially diluting the shareholder base. And then they're going to do 21 billion, I don't know if I said million, billion dollars worth of convertible notes, basically bonds that people can buy. And so they're going to issue debt to be able to buy this Bitcoin. And they're going to buy this over the next few years. Now, this would be crazy for the price of Bitcoin, considering, for example, BlackRock, if we just take them alone, they've purchased about $20 billion worth of Bitcoin this year. And that $20 billion on top of like a few other ETFs, let's just say all the rest of the ETFs cancel out grayscale and just use their $21 billion. The price of Bitcoin has doubled this year just from that $20 billion alone. So if MicroStrategy gets this approved and goes through with this whole deal to buy $42 billion worth of Bitcoin, that's another quadruple on the price of Bitcoin, plus the effect of other companies buying Bitcoin alongside MicroStrategy. Now, a lot of people have come to me and said, hey, you know what? They're setting up like this house of cards. Basically, they're leveraging the house to buy Bitcoin and all this stuff. But they're really not. They're like, because it's not like it's debt that they have interest payments on. It's $21 billion in shares that people purchase. So that's just cash. And then they have these convertible note bonds, I guess, that essentially is kind of debt. But that debt, even the interest or something's not due on it for a few years the way they have this structured. So really, it's not like he can get called out of his position, nor can he be basically liquidated in any way. So the way that Michael has set this purchase up is kind of insane. So I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on this whole plan that he has there, Rob. What do you think about what MicroStrategy is doing here?
Well, I mean, he's kind of in a way betting the farm on Bitcoin, but as you said, he's not leveraging to the point where they're in any sort of danger from a financial standpoint. He's going to let the market absorb it by issuing more shares. Yes, that dilutes the share price, as you said, and it dilutes the float, but it'll be absorbed for those that believe in Bitcoin and believe in the vision. And so far, he's been proven to be correct. And then the convertible notes, if they can issue that kind of debt and not affect their credit rating, it's gold to do that. So he's very smart. He has been very smart. His plan has paid off. You can tell by the stock price post split how well it's done. So who's to argue with him? And I think that's basically what the board has been saying is everything he's done so far has been correct. And, Brandon, we've talked oftentimes in the equities markets about the Fed put, and that's the Fed cutting rates, kind of puts a floor underneath the equities markets. It doesn't mean we can't have corrections, et cetera. The markets move in impulses and corrections, as we know, but it kind of stops the opportunity for any sort of a big drop. And I think with the size of what Michael Saylor's doing, he's kind of creating a Bitcoin put. With that kind of buying, what's the time frame you said? Over what time frame
I
is he?
thought it was I thought it was over the next 3 years, but I could be a
Yeah.
little bit off on that because that seems really ambitious. So we'll see. If we did
Well,
if we did
that's
it over
pretty
three
ambitious. But
years, yeah, yeah,
yeah. So, if you're someone that would be looking to short Bitcoin and then you see something like this, you'd be insane to do it because you're looking at getting your hat handed to you. So that's where that whole, putting a floor into Bitcoin, a Bitcoin put, if you will,
yeah,
it's quite interesting. And what you've been talking about as far as the future of Bitcoin here, et cetera. It seems like MicroStrategy is a great way to play it. Let's see how it plays
yeah,
out over the next several days as far as getting past the election and what the potential for diluting the share price is going to do. It's going to go a long way, I think, to giving a little bit of an idea of where people think the price of Bitcoin is going to go. Because if the price comes down considerably, then like, all right, maybe there's a little bit of a movement. But if there isn't much of a dilution in price with the dilution of shares, then I think that shows that there is great anticipation of Bitcoin going higher. So that's what I'm going to watch to
yeah,
play out to see how that affects the equities price. The bond
right,
deal is
yeah.
that's the easy part.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. And that kind of you mentioned one thing too here, options. I think that's going to be coming into play here too. MicroStrategy is not stupid. They're going to put something in place to where they can leverage their Bitcoin even more because they have to generate part of their plan is they have to actually generate yield on their Bitcoin. If you own a housing unit, you can rent that housing unit out. The REIT makes what 6, 7, 8% or whatever. Everybody's happy. The investors are happy. But on Bitcoin, it just sits there, right? Old school
Right.
Bitcoin just sits there. It's like, oh, well, it's appreciating in value, but we can't actually realize any of those gains if we don't sell the Bitcoin. So Michael Saylor said he's never going to sell Bitcoin. He said he's going to die with the Bitcoin that he does have. So now he has to figure out a way to generate yield on his Bitcoin. So the options market's going to come into play. And he's already talked about becoming a bank for Bitcoin and doing that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a lot happening that we're going to be able to talk about. And I already have a lot of information on the market of options and what that can do for his Bitcoin storage and other people's Bitcoin storage. So maybe we'll talk about that one show, but I don't want to languish too long on it because we do have to talk about the election, what happened over the last weekend here with the betting markets. If you pull this bad boy up, obviously Trump, this is right now, I think he's at 58% to 41% on Poly Market. Now, over the weekend, I don't know if you saw this, Rob, you probably did, but a couple of the polls came out and Bitcoin had gotten to 70, almost an all-time high on Thursday, Friday, and it absolutely cratered as these polls started to come out on Saturday, Sunday, saying that Kamala was going to win with a bigger margin than we'd previously thought. I mean, I think all of the left-leaning media is already saying Kamala's going to win, but this was some other things. So it actually tipped the market to a point where everything started to crater down a little bit, and they thought that Trump, even on Poly Market, he got down with a narrow margin. I think it was like 52.48 at the lowest, which was crazy because he was at like 67% chance to win on poly market. But he's come back up a little bit, and you could see the price of Bitcoin kind of relieve itself as well because it was cratering pretty hard. Just I think the correlation was 73% with poly market, the price of Bitcoin over this last weekend, which is crazy. But this is going to be, just like you said, everything, all eyes are on the election. We're going to have to kind of watch this and see where this goes because we have to, I guess, wait till the election's over. But everybody's like, okay, so what are the two scenarios? What happens if Trump wins? What happens if Kamala wins? If you look at this next chart here, this volatility chart, all-time high, and this is according to Deribit. And what they do is they look at the options. They look at the puts, the calls on Bitcoin. You can actually send Bitcoin over there and buy puts and calls on that, just like any stock. So what they do is they have this volatility chart. Now, obviously, it's an all-time high right now. And so the movement price is about an $8,000 swing that they have priced in this bad boy. And now that Bitcoin's dropped down to this level, I think it's a little higher to the upside. So I'm going to go ahead and speculate right now that if Kamala wins, yeah, we could be looking at about a $59,000, $58,000 Bitcoin. But if Trump wins, we're talking that same night with the weekend, whatever happens, as long as it's a decisive win, we're going to be looking at all-time highs on Bitcoin by the end of the week. $80,000 Bitcoin isn't out of the question, which I think is crazy, but I think there's that much movement in here. And if you look at this last chart that I have here, here's the, and you talked about this early, who the heck is shorting Bitcoin? Well, look at all those blocks in red. A lot of people are shorting Bitcoin. And market makers, what do they love more than anything else in the world? Taking out shorts and taking out leverage. So you see all that leverage up there at $74,000 level. That's what they have their eyes set on. So if Trump ends up pulling out a W tomorrow, they're going to go eat up all those shorts as quickly as possible. And short covering is going to carry this thing all the way to the $80,000 level. I don't see. I mean, it's going to get crazy tomorrow. We're all going to be watching for fireworks. So hopefully you have your popcorn out here, buddy.
I'm going to be ready. I actually have some already. Yeah, I'm being ready and going to bed early tonight so I can be primed to stay up all night tomorrow. Yeah, no, it's already part of the plan. Yeah, I expect to be up all night with you. I am really amazed that the short interest is that high on Bitcoin. Talk about a risky bet. If Trump does win, then that's going to be pretty painful. But I did like the chart that you showed on the potential volatility. I think that makes a lot of sense. And talking about regardless of who wins, which direction it goes, that kind of volatility, I think, makes sense one way or the other. So we'll see. But I didn't think the short interest would be that high. Those are some pretty risky bets at this point in time. But we'll all find out tomorrow night, won't we? It's going to be great to watch.
I think we will. I mean, geez, short. The thing with crypto, you see these memes all the time. The rest of the world's on fire, but people in crypto, they don't even recognize what's going on. They have their blinders on, and they're always at the slots or at the roulette table. They're always gambling. These guys in crypto, man, they're ready to do whatever they need to do, and that, I guess, that means doing 100x leverage short. So that's what they do. So yeah, there is a lot of shorts. We have, I think, almost $1.1 billion up to the $74,000 level in shorts ready to get wiped out if Trump wins right here. Once you go past the $74,000 level, I mean, it gets you about double it up to the $78,000 level. There's a lot of shorts that could be wiped out. There's way more shorts than longs right now. So that's a market maker's dream, and they need that catalyst to be able to get it there, I think. So they have to use that news. They always have to use some sort of news. They can't just market make their way up, but they have to use the news. And this is what got it there. And because of the low float on exchanges right now, they can do whatever the heck they want. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you were talking about the betting on the election, or we were talking about that before. I think we came live, and if you're already up on your bet, why wouldn't you close it out? Which would change the ratios of it. Seems like maybe the shorts might want to do that too, because when you look at risk to reward on what they can make, so they get a quick blip down if Harris wins. It's going to be short lived. I think you and I both agree on that, and but the amount that it could go to the upside is astronomical. You get into the clean air, you get new highs, and who knows how high it can go. So I don't know. It's just not a good risk to reward bet to short Bitcoin right now, regardless of who wins or where it goes. And even if it goes down and they end up being right, I'm just saying that from a risk to reward standpoint, it's a risky bet. And we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'm just wondering if they may, with this little bit of a move down, those polls definitely affected the equities market that you were talking about over the weekend as well. We had the futures were up, and then there were some more polls released this morning. Futures immediately went down. We opened a little bit lower, and the market's just been bouncing around a little bit. Nothing too significant in the equities market, but people are watching the news and seeing where things go. But gosh, you wouldn't catch me shorting something like Bitcoin with this kind of a risk. Those are some iron stomach people that are doing that.
Well, it also goes to show you, I mean, what do the markets want? I mean, they want change. They need something to happen here. And one way I think they're going to get that, another way they're not. And so the market's kind of anticipating that. So anything that rocks that narrative obviously is going to be a little blip. I think we just need to have closure on this so we can move forward either way. And so whatever that takes, we're going to get it.
Yeah, I think at least that's the one part where, I'm talking about the country as an agreement, is that we all want it to be over tomorrow night, right? We want it to be a decisive win one way or the other, so that any adjustments that need to be made, equities, crypto, bonds, whatever, can be made, and then we can just move forward, and we don't get this, long drawn out recounts and contesting and all this kind of stuff that could occur. Let's have it clear and clean tomorrow night. I think everybody wants that, regardless of who you're voting for. But we'll see. The bond market has stabilized, which I think is interesting. I think that leans a little towards Trump, but we'll see. When we take a look here at the 20-year, you can see that we had this zigzag pattern to the downside, and we're holding right at the 61.8% extension, which is where it should be, but it could have gone lower, but it hasn't. And I've really been watching bonds today, Brandon, just more than equities, to be quite honest with you, because the bond market's the one that's been acting all concerned about what's going on economically, et cetera. And the stabilization, I think, is leaning towards Trump. And if it's not, if it's a Harris win, gosh, who knows what could happen in the bond market, and then that will certainly affect the equities market. All hell could break loose, really. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
It could be a volatile week, but like you said, I think we're going to be covering this tomorrow. We'll hop on our thing tomorrow night, and we'll just kind of walk through what's happening in the crypto market. We're trying to wait until Pennsylvania at least has some polling numbers coming in so we can talk about those. But it's going to be a crazy day tomorrow. If you go check us out, I mean, obviously, if you haven't signed up already, go ahead and go to Digital Investor. Put the link in the description. Sign up. Go ahead, and we do 5 streams a week. We talk about crypto. We talked about how to use crypto, wallets, all that kind of stuff. And I think this next year is going to be one of the most exciting years for crypto that we have, starting with tomorrow. So let's see how this goes.
It all starts tomorrow, right? Yeah. What time? Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea what time you're going to come on, or you're just going to wait for the Pennsylvania numbers?
I think it's going to be about 7 o'clock Eastern is what we decided we're going to hop on. So it's going to be later in the evening, but I think then we'll have at least something to be palpable,
something to talk
about.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long night for us.
Well
yeah, it will.
Yeah, it will. It's well into the evening either. But we're finally here, and I know we're both excited about it. Thanks for being here as always, Brandon, and I look forward to watching your stream tomorrow and watching to see how things play out, and then certainly chatting again next week, because gosh, we'll have a lot to talk about then, won't we, on how the election results have affected the crypto market, or how the crypto market is trading based on the election results. So look forward to it.
Exactly. Yep. Sounds good, Rob. Thanks.
All right. Take care.